Welcome, all wrists, and welcome to another comparison. Here we have two watches that were quite literally out of this world: the Omega Speedmaster Professional and the Bulova Lunar Pilot. In this comparison, I'll specifically be looking at the Sapphire Speedmaster and the Mini Lunar Pilot. Both watches hold a piece of history, being pieces that went to the moon, creating a legendary legacy for both Omega and Bulova. Not only do they share similar histories, they also share similar design elements, but there are differences that make each watch unique. Here are the dimensions. The Speedmaster has a case diameter of 42mm versus the Lunar Pilot's 43.5mm. They both share a lug width of 20mm and similar thickness of 13.2mm on the Speedy and 13.5mm on the Lunar Pilot. They differ in lug to lug, with the Speedmaster at 47.5mm compared to the Lunar Pilot's 50mm. Both timepieces also have sapphire crystals and 50 meters of water resistance. The dials on these watches follow a similar design language. They both feature black backdrops with added depth via stepped and recessed elements, but the way they're executed differs. The Speedmaster has a more subtle approach to the way the dial components transition from one to the other, whereas the Lunar Pilot demonstrates sudden, sharp transitions. The best example of this is found on the subdials. The subdials on the Speedmaster dip inwards from the dial with a smooth decline slope, then levels out to a flat plane with a gentle transition. The Lunar Pilot, on the other hand, has a sandwich-like construction for its subdials, like a cutout into a sudden drop into the subdials. The way the subdials are done also play a part in their legibility. On a chronograph, subdials are an important aspect, so you would want them to be legible and discernible from the actual dial. These are both black on black watches, but they do a fantastic job at separating the subdials. On the Speedmaster, the subtle slope catches light to create a light ring around each subdial, allowing them to appear pronounced and recognizable. The Lunar Pilot incorporates a ripple-like pattern and a contrasting sunburst finish, which makes its subdials distinctly different from its flat black dial. Something you may also notice is the way the information is presented on the subdials. The Speedmaster stores all of its numerals and markers within each subdial, emphasizing their shape by utilizing the sloping edge for the tracks and flat planes for the numerals. On the Lunar Pilot, depth becomes a focal point, as the numerals are placed on the actual dial while the tracks are situated on the subdials. It also differentiates the seconds subdial by placing all numerals and markers within it. To continue its focus on depth, the Lunar Pilot features applied indices which stand proud of the dial, really emphasizing a three-dimensional look. The Speedmaster, however, has printed indices which cut into the main dial, emphasizing the stepped transition from dial to minute track. This stepped transition works well to separate the dial components and functions in a similar way to the subdials, where its differing levels of height capture light to demonstrate the disconnect. On the Lunar Pilot, the minute track is recessed, making the main dial pronounced, while also working as a disconnect for the tachymeter, which is protected under the crystal. The Speedmaster's tachymeter takes the form of an insert on a bezel, which does leave it prone to damage. The handsets on both watches are extremely similar, with the most noticeable difference being the pointed hands on the subdials of the Speedmaster versus the rectangle-shaped hands on the Lunar Pilot. In terms of lume, both watches have the same lume layout applied on the indices and hands, except for those on the subdials. However, the lume on the Speedmaster is much more vibrant and generates a greenish glow instead of a blue. For me, the biggest difference is in the case and bracelet. It's here where the Speedmaster demonstrates its refinement and finishing. It's really a case of details versus simplicity between the two. On the Speedmaster, we are presented with fine brushing and polishing. Its case features Omega's signature twisted lugs, really giving it the watch's iconic appearance. The Lunar Pilot's case is a predominantly polished finish, with small semblances of brushing on the bezel and the pushers. The lines on the Speedmaster are sharp and highlight its transition from brushed to polished, whereas the Lunar Pilot has a simple, soft, curved case. The same is translated into the bracelets, where the Speedmaster illustrates details via an intricate 5-link construction with stepped, polished accents, while the Lunar Pilot features a 3-link bracelet with polished center links and brushed flanking links. The clasps also differ. We are presented with a butterfly clasp on the Lunar Pilot. It has half links for adjustment. On the Speedmaster, we get a fold over clasp with a small on-the-fly extension. On the wrist, the Speedmaster is a much more comfortable wear. Its more compact case and lightweight makes it less noticeable when worn. Coupled with its finer links and tapered bracelet, you won't really notice any hotspots, and it's no wonder why it comes out ahead of the Lunar Pilot. The Lunar Pilot is not uncomfortable by any means. It's heavier and chunkier than the Speedmaster, but it wears surprisingly well, since the bracelet does help to balance out the chunky watch head. In terms of movement, we're looking at a mechanical caliber versus a high frequency quartz. They're both chronographs, however, they do function a little differently from one another. We're used to the sweep of a mechanical movement, but the Lunar Pilot also has its own sweep, albeit not as smooth, but much less robotic compared to your typical quartz tick. When activating the timing function, both hands will sweep, but the Lunar Pilot will also track split seconds to give a visually impressive experience. When resetting, the Speedmaster jumps back almost instantly, while on the Lunar Pilot, you will have a slower reset on the Lunar Pilot. Now, the Lunar Pilot will outperform the Speedmaster in terms of accuracy, but the Speedmaster does have an open case back for viewing of the gorgeous 3861 caliber. Now the case back on the Lunar Pilot does have a nod to its history. The Lunar Pilot looks and functions like a space watch. It has a sci-fi aesthetic about it, evoking spaceships with its shiny, curved construction, oversized crown, and uniquely shaped pushers. It's many times more affordable than the Speedmaster and gives you a slice of space history at a fraction of the cost. The Speedmaster looks like a well-done chronograph. It's refined and detailed, but if it weren't for its history, I would find it hard to find ties to space. When I look at the Lunar Pilot, I can't help but imagine it belonging on a space shuttle. Now, does this make the Speedmaster less of a moonwatch? Absolutely not. In fact, it is the moonwatch. But more importantly, it attends to what we like as humans and reminds me that although it ventured to the moon, it was made for people right here on Earth. Let me know what you think about each watch. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.